Among students at a PWI, in other words, a predominantly white institute, some students have chosen to band together and create a tight-knit community. Other students have decided to adapt their surroundings and become friends with students of every color. Nevertheless, we have our experiences and stories to tell, and we have a table full of lovely panelists to share those stories. This is my time to talk.
I'm Yoshi Wilson.
I'm Madison McNeil.
Jacob Noel.
I'm Tamaya Warren.
And I'm Drew Pope, and I'm the host of the show. Now, as for the first question, what is your experience at a predominantly white institute?
Well, for me, I've been going to a predominantly white institution not only here in college but also in high school, which most people don't really think about when they think about predominantly white institutions. They normally think of colleges. But it was a pretty smooth transition for me because I knew what it was like being in a school where over 80% of the racial background for the students attending the school was white or Caucasian. But I want to know what anybody else thought or anybody else's background coming here.
I definitely think that it was a transition. I grew up in Cleveland where everything is predominantly African American. Mm-hmm. So when I did come to a PWI, it was definitely a culture shock. Not only for me socially, but from an education standpoint. I think that was the biggest culture shock that I had, was the education side of things. To see how much of an influence and how much of their tax dollars are put into the education system. For example, I've never even heard of a Tom Cabin. In Cleveland public schools, you don't hear about stuff like that because they can't afford different things like that. So just coming here definitely was a culture shock.
I'm like Maddie. I went to a predominantly white high school as well, but it was a private school. I went there because I had athletic ability, so I went there for football. But coming to a university was no different because, as I said, I went to a predominantly white high school. I'm used to the typical type of stereotypes and things that happen at predominantly white institutions, which I'm sure we're going to speak on more later in the show. But it wasn't really much of a change for me. I already did it in high school. I was already used to it, so it's kind of a smooth transition for me.
For me, it's been kind of back and forth. At a young age, I was in a predominantly black institution, and then growing up, middle school, I went to a more diverse. It would be had everything, so the racial, whatever you want to call it, it was like very diverse. And then my high school was predominantly white, but being there, it didn't feel like the same as it does when I come here. The feeling is different. At my high school, it's just, you don't realize you're in a predominantly white area. Mm-hmm. But coming here, you actually know and you stand out. And in high school, you didn't really stand out that much, being about your skin color.
Okay. On the topic of standing out, on some PWIs, they have BSA groups. You guys feel that's a necessary thing to have on campus?
I personally do. My answer might be a little biased because I'm on the board of the BSA here on campus. But I personally believe that whether I'm on the board or not, I do believe that, for those who don't know what BSA is Black Student Alliance, Black Student Assembly, whatever type of word you want to put it. On our campus is Black Student Alliance. But I do believe they're necessary. I do believe that if you examine the history of us in America, black students, not only just black students, just black people in general, we need more unity and camaraderie and more support amongst each other. So if we have an institution that has over 65% white, the very few numbers of black students that are on campus, they need to have some type of strong background to where they can go, to where someone understands them, where someone talks like them, walks like them, and understands what they're going through and how to help uplift and build each other to be successful in the institution. So I do believe it's very necessary.
Okay.
I believe it's necessary too, because coming here and getting involved a little bit in the BSA and being attending the things that they do, I feel like it gives me a comfort, makes you feel more at home, and then it gives you more confidence. You see you're around people who are just like you, in the same situation as you, and those are people who are actually here trying to help you succeed. And I feel like everybody and everything that goes into it, the BSA, is very positive, and it's just a very good outlook when it comes to black students. And I feel like if the BSA was talked about more around this campus and had more attention, we would get a lot more students of color or even just diverse students at this institution.
Mm-hmm. Tamaya, Maddie?
I agree. When I went to a predominantly white high school, I was trying to start something like a BSA or trying to start a group of the small African Americans that we had to be able to come together and just simply just hang out. But there was a lot of pushback against it because some students felt like we were, or most of the Caucasian students, they thought that we were trying to rally up against them. But really, what it is a support group, because when you are a person of color, specifically black, and you go to a white institution and you're growing up knowing that a lot of the institutions that are for white people, most of the time they're set up to not allow black people to succeed in those areas. So when you have a group of people, it don't have to have the name of BSA, but when you have a strong group of people that are willing to come together, that are black, and willing to forge together this type of unity, to be able to not only say, like, I ain't got all the answers, but I can help you navigate through some things, I think that that's very powerful.
I definitely agree with everything that's been said thus far. I definitely do think that we should have a BSA on campus. I think it should be a BSA on every campus, whether it's predominantly white, whether it's a HBCU. I definitely also think that it's good to see somebody on campus that look like you. They can relate. They may not relate to the exact struggle you're going through, but they can understand being the only black person in that class, or struggling with the curriculum because you didn't get the same type of education background that they had. Or sometimes you can be going into a social awkward situation with a white person and maybe that black person can help you out. It's all about learning to adapt, and that's what you have to do at a PWI. Something else that I like about the BSA is that they try to collab with some of the white organizations that's on campus, because sometimes when you're at a PWI you get angry at the white people here, and it shouldn't be that way. We have to learn to work together, not just as African Americans but Caucasians, Latinas, and everybody else. We're in a mixing bowl, and we all have to learn how to work together, because when you go into the workforce, it's not just white people, it's white, it's black, it's Latinas, and everybody else that you can think of.
Any more input on that question?
If you don't mind, I would like to address one of the points that Maddie made. She had made a point about it's like they don't want to see you succeed. They kind of have a subconscious notion that if it's black people coming together, then it's trying to attack white infrastructure or whatever the case may be. Although I believe that we all know that that's not true, but I do believe that that's a very real thing. I do believe that a lot of white people believe that, whether it be conscious or subconscious, it could be some white people who think they're down for the culture, for lack of a better term, but because they see black people coming together in unity, it's a threat to white infrastructure, because I believe that we are the most powerful people on the planet. I believe that our spirit, our fashion, our education, the way that we've invented things, the way we dominate in sports, a lot of different things that we do as black people, I believe that we can exceed and excel in everything. And if we come together with true unity and true love amongst each other, that only makes us stronger, makes us better. So I understand why I believe it would be a threat. I do believe that that's a real thing. I just feel like that should be a point that should be addressed.
Okay. Now, Yoshi briefly spoke on being around students that look like yourself, and Tomas briefly spoke on HBCU. So bringing that together, based on your experiences here already, do you guys think that at this point, would you choose a HBCU over your experience here, or would you stay here? Because some students become acclimated to their education where they're at, and they're fine with staying where they're at. Students of color, to be exact.
I guess I can start. When it comes to the workforce, the closer I get to graduating from college, the more I'm realizing how much power your name of your school holds. Baldwin-Wallace holds a lot of weight. Yeah. And I'm sure that we're all learning that. We may not like it here, and I know that it's a PWI, but Baldwin-Wallace holds a lot of weight versus a lot of HBCU schools does not hold a lot of weight. Okay, when you graduate, they just want to see that piece of paper. They don't care about your GPA and different things like that. When you go in that interview, they look at on your reference paper what college you went to and the experience. So that's why people try to go to Yale and those different type of schools. So yes, Baldwin-Wallace holds a lot of weight. I definitely would stay at a PWI because of the simple fact of academics. At HBCU, academics is there, but it's not over everything else, such as Greeks. organizations that's held at a higher stance at a HBCU than it is at a PWI, and different things like that. Social events is what I would say.
I'll have to agree with Tamaya. Around homecoming time, that's when I'm like looking on my Instagram or looking at my live feed,
You see all the HBCUs.
I see all the HBCUs and they all
the
going out.
majorettes, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to be a major. I was like, ooh, when I was younger, I wanted to be a major at school.
And
Like,
all look
I want to
good.
do that. But that's great. But at the end of the day, me just, like Tamaya said, just going through my walk at Baldwin Wallace, I noticed that my name here at BW holds a lot of weight. And BW has exposed me to a lot of opportunities that I don't regret taking, and I'm happy that I took. But when it comes to an HBCU and BW, I could go to any type of employer here in Ohio or just all around the states, and if I say, I'm from Baldwin Wallace, then they'll be able to know what BW is. It's nationally recognized. But if I were to drop an HBCU, unless that employer has gone to an HBCU or has networks with HBCU or is African American and has knowledge of an HBCU, then I don't think that they'll be able to recognize the weight that it holds. HBCUs, they hold a weight historically, the unity of Black people, and also how far we have come, especially with what our past is, and we have institutions nationally. That's amazing. But if the employer doesn't understand that, then they will not be able to understand the context of my intelligence.
I feel like I wouldn't change my decision on going to a PWI or HBCU because I feel like being at a PWI, I have more of an impact than I would being at a HBCU.
You don't want to be part of the crowd and
Exactly.
stuff like that.
I would just be another back guy walking around school.
Mm-hmm.
But here, I can actually make an impact, change the culture around here, be a part of something great. So when I leave here, I don't only leave here with a degree and hopefully a high-paying job. I leave my legacy behind. And that's my real reason for coming to Baldwin Wallace and being part of the football team. The football team is predominantly white, too. But every time I go home, I get a chance to talk to all of my people that I went to high school with and get different cultures from backgrounds coming to the school. Like this year alone, I talked to 3 other people who are in Tampa, Florida, and all 3 of them came to here solely because me speaking to them on being here and what we can achieve at this school instead of going to another school and just being an average Joe.
You brought a tear to my eye with that one. Go ahead.
For me, it's not even really a matter of what I changed my decision because when I was going through the high school, my senior year, and when I was applying to schools, I applied to both predominantly white institutions and HBCUs. The thing that made me choose Baldwin Wallace was I received the most scholarship money from Baldwin Wallace out of the schools that I applied to. So I do believe, like Yoshi said, you can make an impact here at a predominantly white institution because we're almost like foreigners, almost for lack of a better term, because it's a small number of us, if that makes sense what I'm saying to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have an opportunity to leave back a legacy at a predominantly white institution, especially if you make a big movement and you change something or you do something within BSA. That was a big thing. But I also believe you can make an impact at a HBCU as well. It just depends on who you are and what type of mindset you have. If you have the mindset to be successful and to strive for greatness, you will succeed wherever you are. So I just believe that it's more about you. What do you want to do? Tamaya made a good point. She said that the work field is diverse. You're going to have to deal with Caucasian people. You're going to have to deal with Hispanics. You're going to have to deal with Asians, so on and so forth. So I believe it's probably best to try to get in an environment to where you see all type of people so you know how to deal with every type of person and be in a professional manner.
All right. Now, I'm going to take y'all back a step. Take y'all back to senior year of high school when you was choosing colleges. All right? Prom coming up, you getting nervous. Some of y'all can't wait to leave. You guys chose the best school. Whether it be for the academics, where they offered you the most money, whether it was close in vicinity, you guys think that you guys chose the best school for yourself. If you chose it at all.
I think I did. I believe so. Although, in sports, we have our ups and downs at times. I feel like we have a lot of potential to be great. And I feel like if everyone hops on board with that, when I say everyone, I even mean the community around us, we can really make a change at this school within the sports industry. And then I also feel like being here, like Tamaya said earlier, that big name, Baldwin Wallace carry a lot of weight. I didn't know that when I first came here, though. When I first made my decision, I didn't know that until I went back home. And, people asking you, oh, what you doing now? Where you go to school? And I tell them, they're like, whoa. I was like, I didn't think you knew, Baldwin Wallace, because I never heard of it before. But the people who need to know about the school know about it. and it carries a lot of weight. And I feel like being here, I learned a lot. It keeps me a lot of focus because of the culture around. So I don't have all the distractions that I would going somewhere else at a bigger school or even the HBCU. And I just feel like I really did make the best choice for right now.
He just got the golden answers today.
I think I've made a good decision so far. When I first came here to BW, I wanted to participate in the 3+2 program for the sociology department. But now, since then, I've changed my major to international affairs. And I didn't think that BW would be able to have the resources for me. But what I can't get in the classroom, I can get through experience here at BW. And I think that BW does a great job for making up for that.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that BW is a good school. I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of people who have an impact in the city of Cleveland, not really just in the city of Cleveland, but in the state of Ohio, to network with a lot of people. I'm an economics and finance major, double major, so I've had the opportunity to meet people who are experienced in the finance world and who have connections with big companies in Cleveland. So I do believe I made a good decision as far as not only being able to learn in the classroom and get those necessary skills you need in the classroom, but also having that networking skill and that experience to be able to work out actively in the city and do things and make an impact.
All right.
Well, my story is a little bit different than everyone else's. When I first graduated college, I had 2 older siblings that were in college, so I didn't get a chance to start off at an institution. Well, going off to school is what I should have said. I had to start off at a community college. Now that I think back on it, I wish I would have went to the community college, got a degree, and then transferred over to a university. Do I think that I made the best decision coming to BW? I don't know, because I really didn't explore that many options. I seen Baldwin Wallace, talk to a couple people that was like, you need to go there. They hold a lot of weight. They can get you a job straight out of college. And BW has a high percentage of people graduating and getting jobs, at least within the first few months. I know some people that graduate before they even graduate and have job offers.
All right. Now, we've had the pretty talk. And with everything that's been going on socially, has there ever been any racial tension or racial situations on campus?
Oh, yes.
Where you want to start at? In the classroom? Outside of the classroom?
All right. Well, we'll start with you, Tamara. You go ahead and give us a little input.
Well, my major is special education with a minor in psych. As we all know, a lot of our teachers are Caucasian.
Yeah.
Caucasian women, to be exact.
Yeah.
Going into the education department, yes, I am the only African American in my class, in every class that I've been in. It's not easy because Baldwin Wallace has a lot of connections with different school districts. And we all know Cleveland Public Schools is not the greatest. We know that they are the worst in Ohio, but we won't. That's
we ain't gonna speak on that. Yeah.
Conversation for another day. But when the white girls in the class get placed in Cleveland, for example, I'm not sure if you guys ever heard of E-Prep. It's a school down on 93rd, which is in the hood, where that little girl got raped at.
East 93rd?
Yeah, East 93rd. Where that little girl, she got raped at right across from her school in an abandoned building. And a lot of us were placed there last year. And the white girls was like, oh, my God, Cleveland? Ghetto. And everything
Off the rip.
Off the rip. Why I got to go there? It ain't nothing but black kids there. They ain't learning nothing. They behind. So I turned around and I said, white kids is just behind as black kids.
Very true.
White kids walk into that classroom with no shoes on sometimes. White kids walk in that classroom with just as many issues as our black kids.
And no textbooks sometimes.
Well, they don't teach out of textbooks anymore.
And Texas still and everything.
Exactly. So I think it depends on how you address the situation. But I know at the moment it made me upset. And I had to ask them, well, where do you think I'm from? I was born and raised in Cleveland. And when I asked them, they started naming all these suburbs. I said, no, Cleveland. I said, I just know how to turn on and off my switch.
Yeah.
I said, and now you just turned it on.
Now, I do believe that there's a lot of racism in predominantly white institutions, some overtly, just right and blatant, and some subconsciously, because we live in a society where you're engineered to think a certain way about black people.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tamaya said, you automatically think, oh, Cleveland, this is a bad area. They can't do this, they can't do that, and they associate that with black. But I believe a lot of racism is rooted in ignorance, because if you knew history and you knew things like redlining, back in the 1960s, if you knew certain laws that barred black communities from having the proper funding to have good schools and have good teachers and have good textbooks, and barred people from having the good opportunities to go to college and so on and so forth, that was an actual systematic operation, not just a choice of, oh, we're black people, we don't want to learn. Nobody thinks that way, except for people who don't know about black people. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of the racism that happens on campus, like I said, is from ignorance. They don't know about these laws that was set up in black neighborhoods to make the school systems not be as good. You see what I'm saying? Now we have a young lady like Tamaya. She's coming to Baldwin Wallace and she's excelling. And they don't know how to take that because you're supposed to be a black girl from Cleveland. You're not supposed to be able to compete with me or be where I'm at.
And she's taking it back to Cleveland,
Exactly.
which is very admirable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I do believe that, like I said, just to reiterate, there's a lot of racism here. And whether it be on purpose, whether it be subconscious, just get educated and know what's really going on and you'll understand the truth, the facts about it.
I think a lot of it has to deal with I don't know, so I don't care type of thing. Where the students they don't want to know, or the white students really, they don't really want to know about the struggles that black students on campus or people of color go through on this campus because they're not really interested. Or they don't know because it's not taught to them. And some of these classes, I know that BW does like FYE, and then there used to be LAS. But a lot of these classes, not a lot of students, they don't really take them seriously. So then students, they rush out feeling like, out of these classes feeling like, oh my gosh, I had to learn this. Or this is something for school or for classes. But the thing is that a lot of what they talk about in FYE and a lot of these culturally diverse classes that are teaching them about culture and diversity in school and in the world, they're just as important as any other class here on campus. And I feel like more students should take it seriously, but they just don't because they don't care.
For me, I feel like it is a lot of racial tension on this campus, and sad to say, but even on the football team, you're supposed to be one, that you fight every day with your brothers. They're supposed to be your brothers. But I feel like we don't get looked at like that. When I say we, I mean the black culture that's on our team. When we first got a new head coach, he walked into the meeting room and he seen that on the left-hand side, all the white kids was over there. On the right-hand side, all the black kids was over there. There was not one person, not one, that sat on the different side. And he immediately came in and trying to change that. That says a lot about the culture around this school, though. When I first came here, that's all people really talked about, And when you playing on the field, a lot of people who are not athletes, but when you're playing on the field, that comes in effect. When you make a big play, and you see all your boys getting hyped up, but then you look for the other people, your white boys get hyped, and they just sitting there looking like, okay, he made a good play. But when someone of their skin color does something good, then they go crazy.
It all breaks loose.
Yes, they go crazy. And it hurts, especially when you're coming from something that's not like that. Because although I've been in both situations, growing up, all the way till I got to college, my football teams was never ever like that.
It just ain't what you're used to, and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that way at all.
Well,
Mind if I add?
go ahead.
I mean, you made a point that said it shouldn't be that way. I come to the realization, and what I'm about to say might offend some people, but I honestly don't care because if it's the truth. If it's the truth, let it offend. I'm just being real. You said it shouldn't be that way, but I've come to the realization that it is what it is, and it's going to be what it is. Asada Shakur, Tupac's mom, said it best. An oppressed people that seek the morality of their oppressor is off. You're not going. If someone has the ability and the want and the history to put their foot on your neck and keep it there, and then you seek to the morality of that person to build you up and make you feel better, that's off, because they already don't care about how in the first place. They put you there in the first place. So I believe that if we focus on building each other up as a people, as black people, you know what I'm saying, we're going to have to deal with the racist comments. We're going to have to deal with the looks, the little sidebar, the little whisper under your mouth, like Yoshi on the field, the people not getting hyped for you. It's a real fact. And I believe that if we keep trying to figure out why, rather than figuring out what we can do to make ourselves better and make ourselves stronger, then we're going to stay stuck where we're at. I believe that we can grow and progress as a people if we just focus on making ourselves better.
I can agree to that to a certain extent, because at the end of the day, we have a lot of programs here on campus that are all about integration. For football, it's all about integration. I'm the president of Student Diversity Council. We're all about integration. And I feel that it's not, I know I can understand the fact that a lot of white people will say, well, you all need to integrate. Y'all need to come over here and help us out. But at the end of the day, just for me to wake up and go into a classroom full of white students, that's a lot for me. Not only as a black person, but then as a woman. I had to walk into that. And I understand that they're just giving us an arm and we got to put in our whole selves just to be able to meet in the middle. But I still demand for that. When I was a freshman, I held a protest here on campus because there were students on Yik Yak, the social media app, putting up racial things about black people, about black men, about Muslims. And for me, I felt uncomfortable, even put up stuff about black women. And immediately I said, you know what? I understand that me holding a demonstration might not change something, but best believe they're going to hear my voice. And I think that's what we need to start to lead. Even though I know in the back of my mind I might not change something today, I will not leave anywhere I cross or anywhere I go to without an understanding that Madison came here and Madison banded with a group of people, however many people there were, and she tried to make change with those people. I'm gonna still do that, whether or not if it happens within my lifetime. I don't care. I'm gonna still do it.
And what I meant to say by saying that it shouldn't be that way, I'm not saying I'm seeking for morality or seeking for the okay from them. I'm saying as human beings with pumping blood, it shouldn't be a separation. It is what it is. That's not debatable. That's true. It just, that disconnect shouldn't be that way. It's not good for us. They don't, I don't know, they don't understand. And by understand, I mean the people from Mount Caucasus. They don't understand whether they understand it or not. It's not okay for that either. It just doesn't help anyone.
What you said is very logical, but you got to remember racism is illogical, and that's why
Racism is illogical.
The bash.
It's illogical.
You know what I'm saying,
For
doesn't
some
make sense.
people, it just makes sense. Some people were breastfed on that.
Right.
But at the
I
same
agree.
time, if they gonna ask for equality, if they gonna ask us, well, y'all need to shut up, whatever, like stop talking about race. The more that you bring it up, the worse that it gets. But at the same time, I'm gonna be like, okay, cool. So you saying that? So then help me out with this then. If you really trying to be about it, okay, then let's do this then. If it ain't about race, then come and speak to me and my black friends. Talk to us instead of just assuming that we don't sit with you just because you're white. And if that's the case, then, and if you feel that way about something, then why don't you help me then? I feel if I turn it right back on them. That's what I do all the time. I turn it right back. That was long.
Yes,
Go
what do you
ahead.
want to say? Tonight, I saw a few people threw some more stuff in there.
I think that you pick and choose your battles.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that the older that I'm getting, I'm learning to play the game. I think that racism is something that's taught.
Mm-hmm.
The deeper that I'm getting into education and dealing with students and dealing with parents, things are changing. The world around us is changing, and they're not moving forward, so it's stopping us from moving forward. Let's just keep it 100. We're not moving forward because we keep reflecting on the same things, which thinks to them that they think that it's okay for them to keep reflecting because we keep reflecting. And some of the things that we do, they think is okay for them to say the different things that they say about us and different things along those lines. But it's not okay. But you have to learn to play the game, which goes along with what he said. It is what it is. Which goes back to the deeper thing of is being taught. Some of the things that we're being taught is being taught at a young age. Cussing is being taught at a young age. It's not sometimes that you're being taught, it's about what you see. And we pick, and that's a way of learning what you see. So it's like, I don't know. It's just a lot. You just got to play the game. I don't know no other way to put it. You just got to play the game and you pick and choose your battles. Some things I'm going to debate with you I don't care what color you are. But then it's some stuff like nigga. A white person is not going to call me a nigga and be okay. That's just something that you just not going to do. Versus something that's universal like the B word. I guess it's okay for everybody to use that word versus nigga. Everybody can't use that word. You know what I'm saying? So you pick and choose your battles. You pick and choose what you talk about and some of the things that you don't talk about. Like, we talk about racism, but do we really talk about it? Can we talk about it to a white person? Can you talk about it to somebody that's not African American?
That's very true. Thank you for y'all input today. Thank you for coming out and sharing your experiences and your stories and what you have going on up here. I am Drew Pope, and this is my time to talk.